Picture this. Someone asks you, "Hey, do you want to come to this party Saturday night?" And before they even finish the sentence, your brain has already run a full cost-benefit analysis. Travel time, noise levels, how many people you'll have to make small talk with, whether you can realistically fake a headache without them checking your Instagram stories later that night. And after all that processing, which took approximately 0.4 seconds, you say, "Oh, I actually have plans." You don't have plans. Your plan is having no plans. And honestly, it was a great plan. Asterisk, but here's the thing nobody talks about. There's a version of introversion that goes way beyond just "I prefer staying in." There's a specific type of person who doesn't just avoid social drain. They've quietly, systematically built a life where they barely need anyone for anything. They fix their own problems. They entertain themselves. They process their emotions alone. They are, for all practical purposes, a one-monkey operation. And from the outside, that looks impressive. From the inside, it's a little more complicated. Today we're going to talk about the psychology of the self-sufficient introvert, why your brain became this way, what it's secretly costing you, and how to stop accidentally punishing yourself for being good at being alone. Let's paint the full picture here. The self-sufficient introvert isn't just someone who likes quiet. They're the person who Googled how to fix their own sink at midnight, rather than call a plumber. They've had the same problem on their mind for 3 weeks and haven't told a single person about it. They will research, plan, troubleshoot, and emotionally process an entire life event, completely internally, and then only when it's 100% resolved, might casually mention it to someone like, "Oh yeah, I went through a whole thing a while back. I'm fine now." Meanwhile, that whole thing was a career crisis, a health scare, and a move to a new city. Simultaneously, your monkey brain has essentially gone full survivalist. Imagine a chimpanzee who, instead of traveling with the troop, decided to just figure out the jungle solo, built its own shelter, found its own bananas, learned which berries were poisonous through personal experience. Is it surviving? Absolutely. Is it occasionally sitting alone in a tree, wondering why it feels kind of weird? Also, yes. That's the self-sufficient introvert. Technically thriving. Quietly running on empty. And the sneaky part is that this trait gets praised. People call you so independent and low maintenance and strong, which feels good. Until you realize those compliments are partly because you've made yourself invisible in your own struggles. Nobody worries about you because you've never given them a reason to. You've optimized yourself straight out of the social support system. Okay. So why does this happen? Why do some brains become self-sufficient fortresses, while others are totally comfortable texting a friend every time they feel slightly weird? First, there's the neuroscience of introversion itself. Introverts have a more sensitive dopamine response system, which means social stimulation reaches a saturation point faster. Think of your brain like a phone battery, except social interaction is the screen brightness. Introverts are just running at a level where everything drains faster. Psychologist Elaine Aron's research also found that introverts process stimuli more deeply, which means they're not just experiencing a party, they're analyzing the party in real time. Every conversation is being cross-referenced with memory, emotion, and meaning. That's exhausting. No wonder you want to go home. But self-sufficiency isn't just about stimulation levels. a lot of it comes back to something called the attachment system. Psychologist John Bowlby spent decades mapping how humans form emotional bonds, and here's the relevant part. If, early in life, your brain learned that needing people didn't reliably get you what you needed, comfort, help, understanding, it adapted. It built an internal system instead. Psychologists call this an avoidant attachment style, and it's not a flaw. It was your monkey's very smart survival solution. When the troop wasn't consistently there, your monkey stopped alerting the troop and started handling things itself. Smart adaptation. Slightly isolating long-term consequence. Asterisk, there's also something happening at the neurological level called the default mode network, which is the part of your brain that activates when you're alone, daydreaming, reflecting, imagining. For introverts, this network is exceptionally active and deeply rewarding. Solitude doesn't feel like deprivation. It feels like relief. Like finally getting to put down a heavy backpack you've been carrying all day. And when something feels that good, your brain naturally designs a life that maximizes it. You start solving problems alone not just because you can, but because solo problem solving activates this same reward center. Your monkey found out that solo banana finding feels better than asking for help. And now that's just ... the whole strategy. Asterisk, here's the part that really connects it all. Your brain's threat detection system, the amygdala, also plays a role. For many self-sufficient introverts, especially those with avoidant tendencies, vulnerability got coded somewhere along the line as a threat. Not asking for help became synonymous with staying safe. Needing people became neurologically a risk. So your brain didn't just learn to be self-sufficient, it learned to prefer it, because the alternative felt genuinely dangerous. You're not antisocial. You're threat responsive. That's a completely different thing. Here's the twist nobody puts on the introvert content. Extreme self-sufficiency, despite looking like strength, can quietly become a form of emotional avoidance. When you never let anyone in on your struggles, you also never let anyone actually know you. You become the person people describe as hard to read, mysterious, private, which sounds cool until you realize it also means alone in a way you didn't fully choose. Asterisk, and there's a compounding problem. The longer you operate as a one-monkey system, the more the skill of receiving help atrophies. It's like never using your left hand. Technically functional, deeply awkward when actually needed. Self-sufficient introverts often find that when they genuinely need support, they don't know how to ask. The words feel foreign. The vulnerability feels humiliating. They'll wait until the problem is catastrophic before mentioning it, and even then they'll frame it in a way that minimizes it. Yeah, things have been kind of hard, said while internally on fire, is a very specific genre of self-sufficient introvert communication. Asterisk, the real cost isn't just emotional. Research on social connection, including the famous Harvard study of adult development, one of the longest studies on human happiness ever conducted, found that the quality of your relationships is the single strongest predictor of well-being in later life. Not income, not status, not even health. Connection. Your monkey can be the most competent solo operator in the jungle, but if it's not in a troop, something essential is still missing. And that thing has a way of showing up. Eventually, all right. Here's what we actually do about this. And to be clear, The goal is not to turn you into an extrovert. The goal is to make sure your self-sufficiency is a choice rather than a cage. Here's how. Audit the difference between solitude and isolation. These feel identical from the inside and are completely different things. Solitude is chosen, restorative, and leaves you feeling recharged. Isolation is avoidance wearing a productivity hoodie. A simple check. Are you alone because it genuinely feels good, or because engaging with someone feels scary or exhausting in a way you'd rather not deal with? One is rest. The other is your monkey hiding in a tree and calling it a vacation. Practice. What psychologists call selective vulnerability. Asterisk, you don't have to open up to everyone. That's not what this is asking. But pick one or two people and experiment with letting them know about something before it's already resolved. Not a crisis. Start small. Hey, I'm kind of stressed about this thing. That's it. That's the rep. You're training your brain to associate sharing with safety rather than weakness. Each time you do it and the world doesn't end, your monkey updates its jungle map. Here's a fun fact. Research by Francis Flynn at Stanford found that people consistently underestimate how willing others are to help them by almost 50%. We assume asking is a burden. It almost never is. In fact, the Benjamin Franklin effect, an old psychology phenomenon, shows that when someone does a favor for you, they actually like you more afterward. Asking for help doesn't make you a burden. It makes you someone people feel connected to. Your monkey thinks asking for a banana makes it look weak. It actually makes the other monkey feel useful and trust-built, what psychologist Susan Pinker calls a village a small, reliable inner circle, not 100 acquaintances. 2 to 5 people who actually know what's going on with you. Research from Pinker's work on social connection shows that face-to-face contact with a core group has measurable effects on immune function, longevity, and mental health effects that no amount of internal self-sufficiency can replicate. You don't need a troop of 50. You need a reliable crew of 3. Quality absolutely beats quantity. And this is actually very good news for introverts who've been measuring themselves against extroverts' social standards. Let people contribute to your life without making it mean you failed. This is the mindset shift at the root of all of it. When someone helps you, something in your brain might register it as I wasn't capable. Try replacing that with I trusted someone enough to let them in. And that is its own kind of strength. Self-sufficiency was your monkey's greatest survival adaptation, but the jungle has changed. You don't actually have to carry all the bananas alone anymore. Here's what happens when you loosen the grip on total self-sufficiency just a little. Life gets weirdly easier. Not because you're less capable. You're still fully capable. Probably more so than most people around you, but because you stop spending enormous energy holding up walls that don't need to be there. You stop managing how much people know about you as a full-time job. You'll stop feeling that specific kind of loneliness that comes from being surrounded by people who only know the self-sufficient version of you, not the actual you. Research on intimacy and well-being consistently shows that being known genuinely, known, not just admired or respected, is one of the most significant contributors to psychological health. Not performed confidence, not impressive independence, just being seen by someone who's actually looking. Your monkey spent so long being the competent solo operator that it forgot. The original jungle was always better with a troop, not a big troop, not a loud troop, just yours. And here's the full circle back to where we started. that party you skipped, you didn't need to go. That was a reasonable, legitimate decision that served your energy levels, and that is completely fine. But the reason you gave, I have plans, instead of I'm actually a homebody, and that's genuinely okay. That's worth paying attention to. The self-sufficient introvert's real work isn't becoming more social. It's becoming more honest with themselves and with the small handful of people who've earned that honesty. That's where the good stuff lives. The self-sufficient introvert is one of the most quietly remarkable types of people in the world. Capable, thoughtful, internally rich, and genuinely good at being alone in a society that never learned to be. But capability without connection is a ceiling, and you're too interesting to live in a ceiling. Let a couple people see what's happening under the surface. Not everyone, just a few. Your monkey has been carrying bananas alone for long enough. It's okay to finally share the bunch. If any part of this felt uncomfortably accurate, do me a favor and hit the like button. It helps the channel more than you know. And yes, I'm asking for help, which is apparently healthy. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of thing. And if you want to go deeper, join the Monkey Mind membership, where we get into the real behind-the-scenes stuff. And you can actually talk to other monkeys working on the same jungle problems. Thank you, genuinely, for watching. Now go text someone. One person. You know which one. I'll see you in the next one.